welcome to Leading Entrepreneurs of the World. Leading Entrepreneurs of the World features entrepreneurs, founders, and business leaders presenting on cutting-edge topics and the latest industry developments. Today, we're very pleased to welcome leading entrepreneur Miku Jha. Miku is the founder and CEO of AgShift. Miku is a passionate entrepreneur and product executive with a proven track record. She has led multiple startups, from founding stage to successful acquisitions and mergers with companies such as IBM and Xyratex. As a product executive, Miku has launched large-scale enterprise products in mobile and Internet of Things for companies such as VMware and IBM. With AgShift, Miku is inspired to apply technology to solve real challenges in agriculture through AI-driven quality assessment tools, solutions, and processes. Miku will be speaking with us today about powering the transformation of food through AI. Miku, thank you so much for joining us. It's a super exciting topic. We're very excited to have you and hear more about your mission to develop technology to solve real challenges in agriculture and to reduce food waste, making at the same time the world a better place.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'm really happy and humbled by this opportunity to present our solution and our vision. And I look forward to sharing this information with everyone. So I'm just gonna share a few slides to walk everyone through the vision behind AgShift and what we are doing, why we are doing. So with that, AgShift, essentially, we are an AI company, but very, very focused on food and solving some of the complex challenges which is faced by the food ecosystem today. So a little bit of a background about myself. I grew up in India, planting mango trees on a fourth-generation family farm. I'm part of a smallholder farming community back in northern India, and have always been inspired to use technology in many different aspects. This does give me a first-person experience of the challenges which is faced by the growers specifically in food ecosystem and food supply chain. And on the other end, I'm a technologist. I have done multiple successful startups. I've worked for many different companies and organizations, scaling the products. And the idea behind AgShift was very deep-rooted. I was leading a lot of initiatives under IBM, working with startups who were doing irrigation sensors, robotics, and drones back in 2016, where, if many of us can recollect, it was also the year where California was going through a major drought, and so were the growers in many parts of India. And the fundamental disconnect was that there was really no good access to data for the growers here in California as well as back home to make some changes, to have some insights. And that really got me back to that there is just too big of a technology gap as it applies to food and the supply chain. With that insight and with that fundamental belief that given all access to technology that we have, we should be able to close that gap. With that vision, I took a relocation from New York, left IBM, came back to California, and started AgShift in 2016-2017 timeframe. So that's the backdrop of AgShift. It's essentially bringing back everything of who I am and blending that with technology to solve something which is really meaningful, that is bring efficiencies and improve the difficulties which are faced in food supply chain and ecosystem with technology. So our focus with AgShift is on food quality And as we all understand, quality is a very important aspect for the entire ecosystem, for the entire supply chain. We as consumers expect uh, a better quality food when we make our purchasing decisions. And a lot of our purchasing decisions are typically based on the visual attributes of the commodity, of the fresh produce or edible nut. If you're buying strawberries or you're buying baby carrots or you're buying tomatoes, whatever it is, the visual attribute ends up being a key decision maker for us, which is, and from many other perspectives also, the role of quality is changing in food supply chain. It's transitioning to pay for quality metrics, and also we start caring about the audit trail, the transparency of the quality, the better pricing, how is the pre-harvest conditions for that farm, and all of those. So in this changing role of quality, it is forcing, in a good way and for good reasons, the way we measure quality also to change. And if we look at how the quality assessment is done today across the supply chain, uh, it's a pretty manual process, where whether we are talking about 1,000 grams of almonds, or whether we are talking about a $5 million worth of strawberry shipment, these inspections are just done in a pretty manual way, as it has been for many, many decades, and which leads to many issues as well, because these are really tough jobs. For example, in case of almonds, you're looking for 24 different kinds of visual patterns across 1,000 almonds. So you're essentially looking for 24,000 visual patterns as an inspector, and you have to finish that inspection in under 15 minutes. So it's a tough, tedious job. It is really error prone, and because it relies on human eye, it's also biased and subjective, given the nature of the job. On the other end, since processes are manual, there's very limited digitization of audit trail and traceability, um, as it stands for these quality grading and assessment processes. Now, the other thing is that food organizations, they have continued to struggle with the lack of access to skilled labor, and at the same time, the prices of commodity has not gone at a higher rate compared to the minimal wage, so they are not able to expand and invest more in the quality inspection process and workforce to improve this whole process. So these are some very real limitations, and COVID has more or less just expedited this whole issue, where food processors are not even able to inspect enough food at their facilities, because they just don't have enough inspectors or people showing up at the facility to do the inspection. So this is pretty much about time where we start thinking of what are the aspects of quality assessment and grading which can be augmented with automation, with technology, so that the whole aspect can be improved. And one key thing is that not being able to inspect correctly or enough to judge the quality of a shipment, whether it's a shipment of strawberries or perishables or almonds, whichever commodity we are talking about, that also leads to a very significant portion of food waste across the supply chain. And at the heart of it, that is what AgShift's mission is, which is to reduce the food waste by improving how we look at quality at different points in the supply chain, making it consistent, better, faster, objective, with digitized audit trails so that you have enough ways in which the food waste can be reduced. And we strongly believe that one way to improve food security for the world at a global scale is by starting to reduce food waste. We reduce food waste, we are already contributing to improving the food security. And that's something we are very, very passionate about, and which is what our technology fundamentally is trying to change and solve for. So, if you think about the approach that we have taken, um, essentially it's an AI solution. And our thought process was very simple, that with all the enhancements, all the progress which we have made in AI, in deep learning, in machine learning, not a lot of these technical advancements make it to the food sector. So our thought process was that, can we use the same concepts, the same building blocks from AI perspective, which go into a self-driving car, but apply it to solving this problem? Or can we take the journey using AI to have self-grading strawberries? And what would that mean? Is it doable? What is the efficacy of this thought process? And can we apply that? So with that notion, we have built what we call Hydra. This is a patented system. It's a turnkey food quality analyzer, which we have built grounds up, starting from the whiteboard and the cardboard boxes and the plastic trays. From there, we started, and we have put together industry's most advanced food quality analyzer to automate any kind of sampling or batch based inspection. And what the Hydra does is it augments the quality inspection or grading process at different organizations, and it enables a better, faster, more objective grading at scale throughout the supply chain. And in the process, we are also able to digitize the audit trail and improve operational efficiencies. And overall, we are able to deliver on reducing the recalls or the claims, and thereby reduce the food waste. So why just strawberries? We have done this for many different commodities, but this is just a flavor of what we are working on. So we have done the same thing for almonds. So from self-grading strawberries, which is where our journey started, we took it to self-grading almonds, meaning that a fully automated AI-enabled process to grade almonds. And this is being used today by some of the largest almond processors in California, to automate their processes and to digitize the whole thing. So that's where we are at. It started from a very simple vision that, what is the technology gap which we can address with all the innovations happening in AI. And we are able to put together a turnkey solution for food supply chain organizations, where they can automate the grading process, reap the benefits of automation, and also play an active role in reducing food waste. So talking a little bit more about the Hydra, essentially it's a combination of some of the key technology advancements today. One is, of course, the Internet of Things, because it's a fairly sophisticated device. Second is computer vision, because what we do is we take images of the samples uh, to to send them to the deep learning models. Third is, of course, the AI deep learning framework itself, which is trained to do the grading and give you back the final grade report. And fourth is the cloud infrastructure. So this is you can think of it as a fairly sophisticated integration of four key technologies, which is IoT, computer vision, AI, and then cloud. And all of that is delivered in a very simple system, we go and install it at the processor or whoever our customer base is. And with 20 to 30 minutes of training, their operators are able to start using the machine to do the automated grading. So it doesn't really need any kind of uh, training or whatever, because that whole heavy lifting of doing the quality grading is done by the AI. So all you need is an operator to put the samples in the Hydra and to drive the workflow, which is to take the images. The powerful thing about Hydra is that it's not about one or two commodities. Uh, we have built a extensible platform, meaning that we can essentially take on any commodity that we choose to. Uh, our focus right now is on edible nuts and fresh produce, but our goal has always been to build a platform which is extensible, which is scalable, so that for the top 20 or 30 commodities which the industry really needs help with, we are in a position to automate the quality grading for those commodities. So these are the three key aspects. There is a simple workflow so that operators are not encumbered with a lot of complexities in the technologies. All they have to do is put the sample and do one or two clicks. I'm a big believer of maximum of 3 clicks for any kind of an industrial solution, and that's what we have delivered with the Hydra. The assessment is done with fairly sophisticated AI algorithms, which is running in the background. And we have digitized the whole process. And this digitization is what is truly helping the food supply chain and food organizations to also get insights on what is happening with quality, not just at their facility, but across the entire supply chain, so that you you can understand that, okay, at which point in the journey of the perishable like strawberries or blueberries did the quality actually deteriorate, because at every point the inspection is done by a completely unbiased inspector, which is the Hydra itself. So we, by removing that aspect and keeping that consistent, the confidence which the entire supply chain can have in this digitized audit trail is much higher, which leads to reduction in claims and which leads to a better preemptive assessment of quality, reducing the food waste. So commercial readiness, we strongly believe that the vision to reduce food waste is at the heart of AgShift as a company, of me as a founder. But at the same time, we have to deliver a solution which a business can make sense of, which a business can use, which a business can get the return on investment from. Only then it's a true quantifiable solution. And even though the vision is to reduce food waste, we cannot directly get there. First, we have to win the conviction from the customers that it's truly solving their business problem. And the reduction in the food waste is a strong, compelling byproduct of all this effort. So, from that perspective, we are one of the very few companies, AI oriented companies in food tech, where we are fully commercialized. So, we are commercialized on almonds. Hydras today are being used with some of the largest almond processors in California. We have inspected more than 1.5 million almond kernels, and we just got commercialized in 2020, which, as we all understand, is not and was not a great year, but still the return on investment was so compelling from the Hydra that even in a year like 2020, with just 4 months of operations, we were still able to have a lot of support and endorsement from customers to start using the solution. And then we are working on many other commodities, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and so on. I again, the goal is to look at it as a disruption in technology to completely change how the industry goes about doing quality assessment or quality grading. And needless to say, this is automation. So if we did once we did when we did a benchmark, for example, in case of almonds, uh, the Hydra system is almost 15 times faster compared to manual inspections, which is where it brings a very disruptive aspect to these customers, because with 15 times faster solution, they are able to use it in many different ways to improve the business, to inspect more samples, to augment it so that they can deal with the not having access to the workforce in a constant, in a predictable manner. All of that they are able to address with the automation, with AI enabled automation, where it's better, faster, 15 times faster, can do more inspections in a more consistent way, and truly augment their workforce. Hydra is built, and we have done this, we have stayed very true to our vision of two things. One is, of course, reducing food waste, which is what led to this entire solution which we have built. And other is to truly give meaningful solutions, not overwhelm the food industry with the complexity of technology, but give them something where it's very easy for them to see why they should adopt technology in the first place. For example, with Hydra, you can augment your workforce. You can increase your sample size to 5 times or 6 times compared to what you have today. And that is how you are in a position to have better quality. Better quality means you have higher margins. Better quality also means you have lower recalls. And lower recalls mean that you are able to reduce food waste across the supply chain. Now, if you think about some of the numbers, it's pretty staggering. We all understand food waste, and there are many different reasons and many different numbers that is talked about. But one crucial thing is that 33% of the total food waste is in its journey in the post harvest, after it leaves the farm, across the processing, packing, and distribution. And that is the portion of the pie which a solution like AgShift is able to tackle and reduce, because at each of these points, at shipper, processor, packers, and distributors, quality assessment is done as a mandatory step. And if we are able to improve that, then just like healthcare, we are being preemptive about the quality of whatever is being inspected. By preemptive, you are able to take actions faster so that the whole thing doesn't end up being rejected at the last mile. So this 33% is what we are very driven to bring it down with the solutions which we are bringing to this industry. And in terms of numbers, this 33%, a big portion of this is due to inconsistencies in quality assessments. Roughly $15.6 billion is lost in sales annually due to issues in quality inspections, not having a digitized audit trail, not being consistent about the quality, and not being preemptive about catching issues, especially for perishables. And that is something which AgShift is set to improve upon with all the innovations in AI and all the automation which we can put together as a comprehensive solution. The other thing is that, which I touched upon a little bit, but food organizations are in a difficult position, especially as it applies to quality, because it's a skilled job, um, but at the same time, it is fairly repetitive. Imagine inspecting 1,000 almonds, looking for 24,000 patterns, and repeating that every 15 minutes. But you can't make too many mistakes because of the implications on the quality. So you have this dual battle. On one end, as a business, as somebody who heads the operations for the quality control, You are dealing with a minimal wage workforce, but you also need them to be skilled. But if they are skilled, then you are not in a position to retain them, and that has not, it's not just to do with the wage, but skilled labor doesn't want to be doing this repetitive task. So the way our customers are looking at this solution is that, um, if the bulk of this quality assessment is done by Hydra, then they are able to let their skilled workforce just oversee the Hydra, oversee the quality process as opposed to becoming the quality process. And at the same time, they are able to do much more value added jobs at the facility. So it's kind of a win win from many, many different aspects for food supply chain and organizations to start investing in automation as it applies to quality. Now, who do we serve to? So we pretty much touch every profile of organizations in the food supply chain, all the way from shippers to packers, processors, wholesalers, retailers. Because if you think about it, quality is not a, it's not an optional step, it's not a nice to have step. At every point of the supply chain, the only way that food, that strawberry shipment or that, you know, tomato shipment moves forward is after it has been inspected for quality. So from that perspective, it's a mandatory step, and it needs to be done before it can move forward. So we have built something which is applicable to the entire supply chain, and that is why we are working with some of world's largest organizations in blueberries, in almonds, in strawberries, and so on. Because I think we are at this tipping point where food organizations are aggressively looking for many different aspects of automation to be better prepared for the coming years. And it's a perfect point to bring these kind of disruptive technologies into the ecosystem. So from the technology perspective, uh, essentially it is about the ability to extend the solution so that it's scalable. We want to work on as many commodities as we can, do the automated AI grading for as many commodities as we can, because then we start truly having quantifiable numbers in terms of reducing food waste. So, with that intention, we have put a pretty scalable framework and platform together. And we are in a position where for any given commodity, in 6 to 8 weeks we can support it, we can give the organization a baseline solution where the accuracies, or you know, where the Hydra would be able to do as good a job or better than the average inspector. So at that point, it's the organization's comfort, and they are able to start using the Hydras to augment their quality inspection workforce. And from technology perspective, it's very important to understand that it's all about the data, and that's again an important thing, because once we start building this repository of quality data, then many other applications are possible on top of that. For example, we are working with some organizations to come up with a completely different way in which how you would look at shelf life analysis, for example, for strawberries and raspberries and so on. So all of these high value applications which can further reduce food waste is now possible because we have a very good baseline repository of quality data for the commodities we work on. So these are like six different commodities on which are in different stages of development. Our journey started with strawberries, as I shared. We are fully commercialized on almonds, and we have done and we continue to do work on raspberries, carrots, cashews, blueberries, and so on. Our focus is mostly fresh produce and edible nuts. We have been approached by many organizations in seafood because, in case of seafood, uh, if you are not really able to catch the issues preemptively, then it has a lot of implications even in terms of health and food poisoning and so on. So it's a third vector where there seems to be very high level of interest, but we have not yet taken that on, though it is part of something that we are considering, at which point we'll be working on fresh produce, edible nuts, and seafood as three different subcategories on food on which this AI automation would be possible. So I would like to leave with a thought that why now, right? Like, why is now a good time to start thinking about these kind of disruptive solutions? And the thing is that there are two aspects to it. One is the environment, the conditions itself. As I shared, COVID has magnified the automation needs for food organizations. Over the last few years, the margin pressure has intensified a lot because the wages rose much faster than the commodity prices, which is adding further pressure. And then on top of that, not having a predictable access to the labor workforce, or not being able to retain skilled labor, all of those are the different aspects of the same problem, which is this huge dependency, or having a manual only way to do quality is just not working anymore in the food supply chain. So that's one changing industry need. And labor turnover rate is more than 70% for these food organizations, which means that they have to spend a lot from their operational budget to keep training people on quality inspections year after year after year. Organizations typically spend 3% of their annualized revenue on quality related processes and tasks and costs. So that's one aspect of it. And second is, of course, the democratization of AI itself, because over last 3, 4, or 5 years at the max, it has been feasible to do what we are doing with AgShift. That is, um, we as young companies now have access to the frameworks, to AI tools, to AI infrastructure, to really powerful GPUs, and all of that. Collectively, it has made it possible for younger companies to start attempting for these AI enabled solution. And that's where we are at. So democratization of deep learning, the need to start revisiting the quality assessment process, and the magnifying effect from COVID, all of that coming together, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a very important inflection point where they can truly start changing, some of the processes in food supply chain, which can benefit each and every one of us over the coming years and coming decades. So with that, I would like to just just end this session, and I hope we have been able to share our vision and how we translated it into a commercializable product, which at the end of the day is playing a crucial role in reducing food waste. But it's only one way in which we are thinking of. There are many other ways in which we can start reducing food waste, and hopefully this inspires a lot of other entrepreneurs who are thinking about how to bring technology to something meaningful as it applies to food.
Miku, so in this case, we speak about the transformation of food, the transformation of processes, the transformation of waste management. You guys, you and your team have done a great job developing a groundbreaking technology and a holistic solution for efficient and consistent quality assessment, aiming at improving processes and results, and as a result, be able to reduce unnecessary food waste. The wonderful presentation, very, very comprehensive. And again, congratulations on the development of this groundbreaking technology. Miku, of course, you said that Hydra is able to take on any commodity that, depending on the user of the equipment, might be willing to choose to take on. And I was wondering, what do you feel? How would those additional commodities? What would be those additional commodities that you may have identified could benefit from Hydra's capabilities? And based on what features would those be chosen? So you spoke about fresh produce, you spoke about nuts, you spoke about maybe fish. How expandable do you feel? And then the other thing would be, how expandable would the solution, the tool, be size-wise, as far as the commodities and the products that it can analyze?
Sure. So just from business focus, as I shared, we are focused on taking commodities under fresh produce and edible nuts. Our journey in edible nuts has started with almonds, and slowly we'll expand our offering to other commodities like pistachios and so on. And in fresh produce, we have worked on many different commodities. Typically, what we are very focused on is for a given commodity, the way we assess the commodity is that we want to solve for commodities which are high value and high margin, because that's where businesses suffer a lot due to the issues with a manual only inspection. So that becomes a selection criteria for us. And then apart from that, it's essentially commodities where you're mostly looking for visual attributes. That's our focus, because we don't really go into the space where you're doing a lab analysis of some commodity to find some internal patterns and things like that. So those are some of the selection criteria for us. And the important thing is that we solve for a commodity, not for a specific organization. What I mean is that, let's say we have put the solution together for almonds, then once the solution is ready, then it matters very little whether you're talking about the almonds from California or Australia or Turkey. Almonds are almonds, and more or less there is an industry standard on what you are looking for, what are the defects or the patterns that you need to solve for from grading perspective. So from that perspective, answering your second question, that it's a massive opportunity because all these commodities are global in nature. So once you solve it, you have solved it at a global scale, not at a regional scale, not at the level of an organization. So once you solve it for strawberry, then since it's a natural commodity also, there are only those many defects which Mother Nature has come up with for strawberries, for example. So once you solve it, it matters very little whether you are applying Hydra for automated strawberry grading in California or Mexico or Canada or Singapore. It's the same thing. So from that perspective, this is a massive opportunity to automate AI enabled grading for these commodities. But from business focus, we're very focused on first taking on edible nuts and fresh produce, and then slowly expand it to other subcategories like seafood and so on.
And of course, changes and transitions for the better can be very exciting. And like in this case, transitioning into modern practices of AI is indeed super exciting. But at the same time, it's a new process, and it could be very challenging to introduce that new process to older companies in certain sectors. Were there any challenges you faced while introducing the technology to different industries? And if so, how did you overcome those challenges?
No, absolutely. I think, and we continue to face these challenges because if you think about it, it's a really sophisticated product, but it is working with food industry. So that is a challenge in itself. The way we go about it is that we don't focus we focus on, are we solving the problem for the business or not. We focus less on the complexity of AI or computer vision, or how we have built the solution. We focus more on what really are the issues which our customers are facing, uh, and how do we go about giving them a solution which can solve those problems. So de-emphasizing the technical stack and re-emphasizing that this is the solution, this is how it can solve problem A, B, and C. That is what has helped us a lot in having meaningful conversations with our customers. Because at the end of the day, you know, food organizations are very receptive to technology. So there is a misnomer out there that food organizations are not at the forefront of technology adoption. I think that's incorrect. What happens is that we as entrepreneurs, from wearing the lens of technology, we have to show them, are we actually solving their problem, the business issues which they have in their world. Only then it makes sense. It doesn't matter how sophisticated a solution I bring, if it is not able to solve something in a meaningful way, then it does not matter, it's not applicable. And that's where I think there's a lot of gaps in how entrepreneurs or founders or early technology companies are not able to get to that adoption. We are also in early stages, but we are trying to learn every day in terms of what is it that the industry needs, and can we put that solution from that perspective, as opposed to having a cool technology and trying to find answers on why a customer is not adopting it. We want to say we are solving this business problem, and then there is no issues adopting the technology.
Well, you and your team and the AgShift team are focusing on proactively solving a great problem and introducing groundbreaking solutions to the industry. Miku, thank you again very much once again for your time and for your presentation and for your participation at the Leading Entrepreneurs of the World series. Thank you, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.